Okay, class. Last week I had you work on an assignment dealing with followership, and some of you asked me questions about why it mattered. And you asked even more important, why do we use such an unusual example? Well, the reason we used it was it's actually a wonderful way to look at a movement. Even at the local firehouses, when they first were starting, I had to start with one person with a crazy idea. And I had to get someone else excited and motivated to join them. And the reality is most people followed that second person. As this week's discussion with Maxwell talks about, truthfully, great leaders actually motivate other leaders and actually coach other leaders. That's kind of what we're going to be looking at here. We're going to be looking at the follower behaviors, and we've got four basic types here, and we've got two different ways to look at them, whether they're independent thinking or they're dependent, or whether they're passive and active. And these are the basic five people that you're going to have at your firehouse. Let's get started with this. By the way, this technology is called Prezi, and it's a little bit more advanced than PowerPoint, but it's pretty interesting. So looking at this really quickly, basically when they started the research on followership, they looked at two areas, really, the independent thinking and active involvement. From there, they created five different types of followers, which are explained briefly throughout this presentation. Okay, going back to this, slide back over. Critical thinking. This is the first dimension of the model. And we're going to look at the quality of the independent critical thinking. We want to see somebody that is, as they're going up, the more they think about the organization. People who are actually independent thinkers, they're more aware of the way people behave and their influence on achievement of organizational goals. Critical thinkers are proactive, creative, innovative, and willing to offer constructive criticism when it's appropriate. The opposite of all this applies to non-critical dependent thinkers. They stick to procedure or present instructions with very little deviation, even when the circumstances warrant it. Okay? A critical thinker can question instructions compared to an uncritical thinker, which would follow orders without any evaluation. Does that sound like anybody you know so far? Now, on to the fun stuff. The very first thing we have is what they call alienated followers. The follower is very passive, but an independent critical thinker. Very often this person focuses on the negative aspects of the organization, possibly because they've been overlooked for good performances in the past. When we look at this, these are the people who actually have in the past been very active, and they have felt like they've been rolled over and the leader has turned their back on them, or the leader's not been true. Again, these people think very well. They are well thought of by most groups, except they get the moniker of being a little negative. Okay? Having followers like this is not particularly healthy for an organization, definitely. When you can't align your mission and vision, these type of followers are always looking for the next big thing to get out of there. Compared to what we call an effective follower. This follower is active and independent critical thinkers. They behave the same towards everyone. They have the courage to initiate change and put themselves at risk or in conflict with others, even their leaders, to serve the best interest of the organization. Can be described as a manager's best friend that they can be relied on very heavily upon. Guys, this is who you are. You are the effective followers right now. You are the ones who are actually carrying the ball, keeping it going. You're able to think outside the box. They're giving you assignments because you're very active and you think. These are the types of people you want to surround yourself around in an organization. These are your A players, the ones that are hot and heavy in this field, and they want to be everyone's best friend. They want to put their best foot forward. Okay, sliding down. We're going to slide down to what they call the sheep and passive followers. This follower is passive and uncritical. They just don't think of anything. They don't by themselves. The thinking is left to the leader, and this kind of follower only does what within the scope of their job. They rarely go beyond their job description, or more often described by the leader as lazy and unmotivated. These right here are the people that you don't want around. They're the ones that are willing to be around. They do their job. They're a paycheck person. They're willing to go with whoever's going to lead them at the time. And if somebody else wants to come in and offer them something, they may do it, they may not. These people right here, often don't get anything accomplished. Yes, people, conformists. These are my favorite type of people in the whole wide world. The follower is an active participant in the organization, but they don't think for themselves. They carry out orders without considering the consequences of such orders. They will do anything to avoid conflict. Okay? This type of followership suits the authoritarian style of management. No duh. They're going to say yes no matter what. They're not thinking, but they're incredibly active. So if I ask them to go do something, they're going to say, it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. Of course I'm going to do it. These are the type of people, if I tell them, let's go play Dodge car, they'd probably go out there and play. They're also the most dangerous type of people to put yourself around because they're the ones who are going to build your ego up. Well, yes, you are always perfect. Every thought you have is wonderful. And the problem is, if you're the leader and you keep buying into these people, your ego is going to get the best of you. Well, what about these survivor people? They show a little bit of all four sides, depending on the situation. They use whatever style best benefits his or her own position and minimizes their personal risks. They know how to work the system and to get things done in an organization, especially if it's facing difficult times, and the same behavior can be seen as playing political games or adjusting to maximize self-interest. The thing that you need to realize with them is they're going to go whichever way the wind blows. They're going to be either with any one crowd. Are they necessarily bad? No. They're the ones that are going to question things. And they're also going to be the ones willing at times to be sheep. So let's get back out to the big picture really quickly and ask ourselves a question. Why does followership matter? You've seen the 5 types here. As we look at them, what is the purpose of it? The purpose of it is to see how to move your followers into a more effective position. We always want our volunteers to be more active. We want them to be able to think for themselves. The good thing, so if we're looking at a sheep who is passive, there's a couple of ways we can look at this. Okay? If we get them active, they're going to be what? Yes people. That's a problem. So we've got to build up in 2 areas for them. We have to build up their confidence so they're willing to become independent thinkers. We've got to reward good behavior. And we've also got to get them more active. So I would say the survivor is kind of that area of rest in between going there. If you have an alienated follower, they're still incredibly useful for your organization. They think for themselves. They're just not very active. Find out why they're alienated. What event affected them so that they went to more of a passive role? Sometimes it may have been that they were passed over for a promotion and they're upset. Sometimes it could also be just the mere fact that life has made them made them less active, honestly. You know, they could be going through some family issues. You know, if you have yes people, they come in as yes people, figure out ways to get them to stand up for themselves. Get them to think. And that's kind of what you're looking at. No matter what type of person you're looking at, they're going to fit into one of these quadrants. And that's the biggest part of followership, is to understand their behaviors, because it's like with leadership is nothing more than behaviors. So what we're looking at here really is, what I want you to understand is followership is critical to us. At this time, the volunteer fire service is at the lowest point it's been ever. We're seeing more and more people go out the door, and we're bleeding, and we're wondering why. The issue isn't our leadership. The issue is followership. Why are they not willing to stick around? What quadrant are they in? How can we move them? How can we make them effective? And that's the biggest point of the whole thing. You go back to why was the dancing man so unique? Because he does exactly what we do. People will look and laugh at him because he's out there making a fool of himself. But we make a fool of ourselves. We rush into situations that nobody in their right mind would want to go into. We go into situations where our moms get worried about us. So in some ways, it's a lot like it. Our lesson from volunteer leadership, no matter what position you're in, is you honestly have to start the movement. You've got to get the big mo going. Okay? And unfortunately, these are the 5 types of people you're going to have to deal with. And dealing with them effectively is going to be you being able to identify them. Well, if you have any questions about followership, feel free to shoot me an email, and I'll get back to you. Have a great day.